What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel for another video. Tonight we are going to be working on my 06 Dodge Ram that we call Old Smokey. So as y'all saw in my previous videos, when we first got the truck, we fixed the fuel lines, rebuilt the transmission, and I put a junkyard transfer case in the truck. So at the time, I found a really good deal on an electric shift MP 273, and the truck is originally a manual shift transfer case, so I just threw the electric shift in there just so I could get the truck back running. And I never got around to converting the truck to electric shift transfer case, even though I wanted in the long run to have a manual shift transfer case. So in the meantime, I had found a couple of transfer cases that were manual shift, and I went ahead and bought it. But embarrassingly, I have not hooked up four-wheel drive in the 2 years that I have had the truck. Thank the Lord, I have not needed it. But tonight we're going to go ahead and jump in to working on getting this truck back to four-wheel drive. So let's go ahead and take a look at this transfer case a little bit closer, and then we'll go ahead and dive into starting to clean it up. All right, so like you see here, I've done a little test spot of just doing a little wire wheeling and painting, but that is the first thing we're going to go ahead and jump into for this transfer case, is wire wheeling it and getting it cleaned up for paint. I actually got this transfer case out of a truck. I was able to find a little bit of history information on the truck. I think it had 150,000 miles. It was a gas 2500 Ram, and I believe it was a little bit from up north. I can't remember. I think it was New York or something for a part of its time. So you can see a little bit of rust and a little bit of crust here, but not too big of a deal. That's probably the worst part there, the vent for the transfer case. But I don't see anything on it that's too alarming. And then when I did dump out the fluid in it, it looked pretty healthy and red, no metal shavings in it. So this will just be a quick wire wheel with some cup brushes and round wire wheel brushes. And then we'll go ahead and get a paint job on it. And then jumping over to the drive shaft, you can see I've already taken it apart. This was a used drive shaft, and I just wanted to do a full rebuild on it, go ahead and put some nice Spicer lifetime U-joints in it, as well as replacing this center bearing on the double cardigan, because we do know that this is the joint that kills these things and what killed this truck originally, I believe. So I went ahead and, as you saw, I bead blasted these a little bit in the blast cabinet at work, just the mating surfaces to get them really clean. And then I will go ahead and just use the wire wheels to clean up the rest of this crust, just so we can get a little bit of paint job on it. And then in the end, after we get the drive shaft rebuilt, I'll send it down to the drive shaft shop. I use Fleet Pride, which is locally to me, and I'll just get them to go ahead and throw a good balance on it, just so I don't have to worry about anything. Let me go ahead and grab the drill. I'll set the camera up on a time lapse, and we'll go ahead and start wire wheeling this thing. So originally, when I put the electric shift 273 in the truck, I had plans of converting it over to a manual shift. But after looking up the parts, it was going to be anywhere between $250 to $300. And the price of what you can get a transfer case at the junkyard, which is about $120, I decided to hold out and just wait on finding one of those instead. We got the transfer case all done. We got the drive shaft, cleaning all that up. We got to clean out some of the little snap ring grooves, but for the most part, we got it all cleaned up. And good gosh, camera doesn't really do it justice, but this stuff was so dirty and dusty. I was trying to wear a mask, but I know I was breathing all that crap in. Probably not too good for me. So I'm gonna stop for tonight. and probably pick up again tomorrow, and keep making some progress. All right, so we went ahead and cleaned up our bearing cap bores with the Dremel with a tiny wire wheel on the end, and also our little snap ring holes. So now we are going to go ahead and start installing some U-joints, and also the first thing we're going to start with is going ahead and putting our new double cardian, I don't even know what you call this thing, bearing ball or centering ball. So let's take this over to the vise and go ahead and pop the old one out. All right, so you can do this job, you know, with either a shop press or just the vise, but I've found it pretty easy just to go rent you a ball joint press, or if you have one, even better. I just went down to the local auto parts store and rented a ball joint press. So we're gonna go ahead and start pressing in our U-joints into our axles. And so the U-joints that we got is Spicer. And these are lifetime U-joints, so I won't have to worry about getting under the truck and greasing them every 3,000 or 4,000 miles. So let's go ahead and pop these open and get them in. And just to remind you, whatever cap that you take off one end, you want to put that exact same cap back on that same end. So just keep track of when you take the caps off, put it back on the same place. All right, and like I've shown y'all before, when I'm pressing these in, I like to press it a little bit further, just so you can easily get your snap ring in, and then it also sticks this side shank out a little bit further, so you can get the next cap on easily. So let's go ahead and throw the snap ring in on this side and then press on the other cap. That gave me a little bit of a fit installing this. I had to stand it up on its very end, and I just went around very lightly with a punch till I got this on. And don't forget to put this on, because this is actually what keeps that set of bearings right in here clean and water-free and dust-free, and makes it last a whole lot. And it definitely, if you ever rebuild the drive shaft, replace these here. And then do not forget to put your spring in the middle. So I was installing the front U-joint, and I noticed this little dust seal was cracked right out of the box. So I had to order another U-joint, wait a week for it to come in, and then I was installing it, and then this happened. So in my defeat, I proceeded to take the thing back apart, and thankfully I still had the other U-joint with me, so I just robbed a seal off of it and proceeded to put it back together, and all was okay. All right, guys, so as you saw earlier, when I put this center yoke in, I had a few different size snap rings in here, and I kind of concluded that this thing was actually bent. So this one side was closed up and another side was opened up. I did attempt to straighten it out, and I guess another thing to note on this was one side was super hard to get the snap ring in, but one side actually, you know, you could still see some space and slop where that snap ring is. And also, when I was taking it back apart, a couple of the caps were kind of loose coming out. I think it would totally be fine to run it. I did actually attempt to straighten it out on the press by pressing one side and then using my calipers to measure a little bit. But in the end, I didn't fully feel comfortable using it, so I did go ahead and just order a new center yoke. It was only like, you know, 45 bucks. So not to take a risk, I just went ahead and ordered a new one. And in the meantime, I did go ahead and order a large throat ball joint press just so I can have at my house. Anyways, and this was the ball joint press that I needed whenever I did the ball joints on my truck. And I do highly recommend getting one of these if you do a ball joint job on, you know, especially the Dodge 1-ton pickups, and then possibly even the Ford. So we're gonna go ahead and take this thing back apart, put our new center yoke in, and then we will go ahead and slide the drive shaft back together. And I also have a new slip yoke seal, because when I put this one on here, it was very, very loose on this shank. Definitely was not doing any sealing, and probably wouldn't hold our grease, so I did just go ahead and get another one of these. I think that was only a few bucks, you know, 20 bucks maybe on Summit. So we'll go ahead and slap that one together, and she'll be ready to go to the balancer. Then we're going to line up the top of this yoke to the top of that yoke. And some of y'all might be saying, like, why am I spending all this money? I'd have to add it up. I think around 200 bucks. In rebuilding an old drive shaft when I can buy a new one on Rock Auto or something for about 350 bucks. But some of those, like, if you can find one with like good Spicer U-joints in it, like, good for you, go for it. But I know some of those, I may not know what components they are rebuilt with. But for me, I want Spicer in my front drive shaft, especially with this being such a critical component and a common failure point in these third-gen Dodges. And like I said, that is what totaled my truck in the first place before I got it. And I can rest easy at night knowing that I have good quality parts in my drive shaft. And if it fails, the only person I can blame is myself. So that's kind of the mentality I like to do. Like to have on a lot of my own stuff that I work on. If something goes bad, you know, I can't go and point my finger at somebody else. I can only blame myself. All right, so there you have it there. We have our drive shaft fully rebuilt. We have new Spicer U-joints on both ends. We have a Spicer seal. We have a new Spicer center yoke, just because our other one was a little sketchy. We have a Spicer center ball seal right in there. But our centering ball, remember, we did have to do a SKF ball there, just because I could not get my hands on a Dana at the time. But I am fine with the SKF brand. But just for future maintenance, you know, from time to time, we'll crawl up under the truck and check the play in this center ball and just make sure it is good. And that is a good maintenance practice for these third gen Rams, or pretty much all the Rams with the double cardian joint up at the top. This thing is good to go to the balancer to get a nice fresh balance on it, and then we'll slap it in the truck. So a few videos ago, I shared about the King's Witness bracelet that I've been wearing on my wrist for probably going on a year now. And the symbols on that bracelet stand for he came, he died, he rose, he ascended, and he's coming back again. And last time we hit on the he came part. This time I want to hit on the he died part, which is the cross symbol. And the verse for that one is Romans 5:8. But God shows his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. And go out and grab you one of these bracelets. I just think they're a really cool way to witness the life of Jesus Christ to somebody out in public. You know, somebody may ask you like, hey, what does that bracelet mean? You can share that with them. And you can find these bracelets anywhere, you know, Amazon, eBay, or, you know, whatever. They're everywhere online. So go pick you up one and share what it means to somebody. All right, so we're finally back in the shop. It's actually been a couple of weeks. Just been caught up with some other stuff. And so I went ahead and you saw me clean up the transfer case. And we have some good paint at work, so I just took it to work and had them spray it. And then I also took the drive shaft to the balancer. It took me a little while to get it to him and then get it back from him. But the drive shaft actually was close enough to being balanced where they didn't have to change anything. So that was good. And it's just good assurance to double check that before we put it back in there, just so everything is as smooth as it can be on the fresh drive shaft. And so next thing we got to do, I got to peel off some of this tape here. I also do have a brand new tin seal for the back here. This piece of tubing actually works out perfect with the size of this seal. I think it's 3.5 inch tubing. So that's what I'm going to do there. Use this to drive the seal in. And then we're going to go ahead and jump under the truck, pull out the rear drive shaft, swap out the transfer case, and go ahead and hook it up to the linkage and install our front drive shaft. And also on the transfer case, I went ahead and just picked up some new bushings for the shift linkage, because the shift linkage up underneath the truck is missing that one. So we're just going to go ahead and go with some brand new ones. And let's jump into it. When you're putting this in, make sure you have your little weep hole facing down. And don't forget, before you disconnect your rear drive shaft, be sure to chalk your wheels. Do not just rely on your parking brake. I'm on very level ground inside my shop, but it's not always the case for everybody. Now that I'm looking at this up close, isn't this exhaust pretty freaking ugly? We might better replace it with a little bit of this, don't you think? All right, so we got this one out. Definitely not easy with one person. If you can get a second hand to help you out, maybe with the jack or something, I would definitely recommend that. But what I did, I know it was kind of hard to see up under there, is I balanced the transfer case right here on the floor jack, got it cracked loose, slid it back to where it cleared the transmission, and then I slowly cracked the valve and let the jack slowly come down. We are just going to do the reverse with the new transfer case. And those of you with a keen eye, I am missing a stud here, so we are going to rob one of these studs, install it there with some Loctite, and then we will go ahead and slide the new transfer case up there and fight it back into place. Got it. All right, it is late and I am tired, but we did get the transfer case all the way in, front and rear drive shafts. The rear drive shaft, we blue Loctited the bolts to drive shaft to rear axle, 85 foot-pounds. The front drive shaft, we blue Loctited all the bolts, 65 foot-pounds to the transfer case side and 21 foot-pounds to the front axle side. And if you're familiar with these trucks, they do come with a kind of like a Torx head bolt that attaches the drive shaft to the front axle. I actually had some grade 10-9 hex head bolts that actually had the smaller 10mm hex size on the head, which actually worked perfect in that scenario. So I used those instead of the factory Torx head bolts. So like I said, we blue Loctited all those and tightened that down. Roughly 2.5 quarts of transmission fluid in the transfer case. We got our shift linkage in there. But like I said, it is late. I'm about to go inside and shower and get in the bed. But tomorrow we'll probably test out this 4-wheel drive and see how it is working. Might go like sink it up to the doors in a mud hole or something. No, I'm just kidding. We'll just make sure the 4-wheel drive is properly working. Maybe do a little bit of digs on the gravel driveway or in the yard or something. But I'm gonna shut it down for tonight and we'll pick it back up tomorrow. All right, guys, and as you can see, the 4-wheel drive is working. I'm super stoked about that because, like I said, it's been about 2 years, about 2.5 years actually, without this thing being 4-wheel drive. So now I don't have to get stuck in the yard, you know, pulling a trailer, you know, on wet grass or something, which is really frustrating, or having to get like a running start to make it up my hill over here to get back up in the driveway. That's gonna go and wrap up this video. Y'all stay tuned. Next on my list is to try to make some sort of drive shaft loop that kind of, I mean, you've seen many of them on the internet probably, but something just for a fail safe, just in case it ever did fail again, it would not wreak havoc like it normally does when somebody's drive shaft fails and just tears apart the transmission, transfer case, wire and harness, fuel lines, and everything. And to remind you, that is what originally killed this truck or had it totaled before I bought it. So that is next on our list. I appreciate you staying tuned and watching the full video. Drop a comment down below and let me know what you think of us rebuilding the drive shaft and putting a new transfer case in it. I hope this one holds together for the long haul. And hit that like button and subscribe if you are not already, and we'll catch you on the next one.